Hello, welcome to the NACE 8 workshop series. Today we're going to be going over communication. So, what does NACE 8 mean? NACE stands for the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and the NACE 8 is the 8 career readiness competencies that recruiters and employers are consistently looking for in students. So, when they're looking for students to hire for internships and full-time roles, it is the qualities that helps these students stand out, succeed in their roles, both in this preparation for full-time and internship roles and also far ahead into their careers. So the NACE 8 series is going to dive into each one of these 8 competencies and answer the question, what qualities are employers and recruiters looking for? And today we will be diving into communication. So the NACE 8 definition of communication is clearly and effectively exchange information, ideas, facts, and perspectives with persons inside and outside of an organization. So both within your company and outside of your company, be able to communicate your ideas, your information that you have, and your facts. Communication matters because it builds trust with your supervisors and your teammates, and it helps you stand out in interviews, networking, and during internships. When you can communicate well, that means you can also communicate your skills, why you're valuable and why you're an asset to the team, why they should hire you back, why they should continue investing in you. Communication also makes collaboration much easier and reduces confusion. It shows professionalism, competence, and readiness for responsibility. So it helps you level up when you are communicating responsibly and well, and when you're showing that you can handle more. It also is what directly impacts how others perceive your reliability and your potential. So again, it's that being able to explicate your value in an organization and communicate those ideas effectively. And this is also very important for any role that requires presenting to managers, presenting to clients. The communication is going to be a key skill that sets you apart. Sample behaviors of effective communication skills is understanding the importance and demonstrating verbal, written, and nonverbal body language. So there's many different types of communication. It's not just the words we say, but it is also the words that we write. It can look like written memos in a role. It can also look like emails. Emails is another very common form of communication that we will get into later. And it also looks like nonverbal, which is more body language. That's also a key teller that shows how engaged you are. So being able to understand the importance of all of these different types of communication and also to demonstrate them effectively. It also looks like employing active listening, persuasion, and influencing skills. So the active listening part here is key. It shows that you care about what the person is saying, and it makes for more effective communication skills because you are actively listening to what they're saying, and in that manner, you can respond or follow up with questions. It is also communicating in a clear and organized manner so that others can effectively understand you. It is also framing communication to diversity of learning styles, communication abilities, and cultural differences. It's also asking appropriate questions for specific information. So if you're in an internship or a job and you have a question about something, communication translates to your ability to effectively ask a question that is professional and also gets you the answer that you are looking for in a specific and time-friendly manner. It is also promptly informing others when needing guidance with tasks. So, if you need some extra support or help at a certain stage, whether that's in the earlier stages of a project or in the later stages, being able to communicate that is a really good skill because it allows you to have more effective use of your time. So, 8 ways to improve communication is, according to this Harvard Division of Continuing Education link there, is number one, be clear and concise. So less is more. You don't want to be overly verbose because people can get lost in your language. You want to be straight to the point, and this applies especially in professional settings. Number two is prepare ahead of time. So know the material, brainstorm potential questions. This applies for any type of presentation that you're giving, anything like that. If you know the material well, you're going to be able to communicate it much better and speak off script, things like that that show you have expertise of the subject. If you prepare ahead of time, you have also provided yourself time to answer potential questions that you might be asked, and this is also going to make you really stand out because you can effectively communicate those answers back to them. Number three is being mindful of nonverbal communication. So, body language can be estimated to have between 65% and 93% more impact than spoken words. So, this is everything from facial expressions to gestures when you're speaking and other body language. So, this is another really important aspect of communication that can also get forgotten about. But it's having body language that shows that you're open to the conversation and you're interested. Facial expressions like nodding, that shows you are understanding what's being told. Number four is watching your tone. So, volume, projection, intonation, and word choice can add power and emphasis to what you're looking to say. So, if you want to emphasize certain parts, you can use things like volume, tone, you can use pauses to really emphasize those points. Number five is practice active listening. So, this is what I mentioned. Give undivided attention to the speaker and show that positive body language, such as nodding. That shows that you are actively listening and in tune with what they are saying. This can look like a lot of different things. For example, it can look like lunch, a casual conversation. You're caring about what they're telling you, or if your manager is giving you instructions on the certain project, it's showing that you're actively listening. Number six is building your emotional intelligence. So, emotional intelligence helps engage in active listening. So, it helps you with all the emotional side, which is what you are reciprocating when you're listening to someone. You're keeping an appropriate tone and using positive body language. So, body language continues to come up. It is very important as well as your spoken words and your written words. Number seven is to develop a workplace communication strategy. So this just means streamlining the flow of information. So for example, in your organization, they may have policies to use emails for this, or a Teams group chat for that, or a Teams call for this. So make sure that you're aware of what that streamlining looks like so that you can use the effective communication platform and get your ideas across professionally. For example, there may be things that Teams messages are used for, but if it's something a little bit more extensive or detailed, maybe email is a place for that. And that is something that you can ask your specific company as well. And number eight is having a positive organizational culture. This is at a larger scale, but the trust, empathy, open dialogue, and transparency just creates for more effective communication and collaboration. So keeping in mind that cultural aspect as well. And verbal communication, to deep dive into this one, verbal communication speaks with clarity and purpose so that listeners immediately understand the main point. So you want to make your main point clear. You don't want to bury it in between other words. It is also adapting tone and vocabulary to the audience. So being aware of who you're presenting to, whether it's peers, professors, recruiters, or supervisors, you are going to be able to adapt your tone and the type of jargon that you use. So some people may be expert, more or less experts in certain fields. So being able to adapt your tone for that. Also using concise phrasing to avoid rambling and filler words such as listening actively and responding to what others actually said, not what you expected to hear. So, the active listening piece, asking focused questions that move conversations forward. This is also a big one, being able to ask questions to continue the conversation. And that also goes with active listening. Additionally, it's maintaining professional presence through pacing, volume, and confidence. Confidence is also a big part of specifically verbal communication. It is also practicing summarizing ideas in one or two sentences for meetings, interviews, and networking. So, again, that point of clarity, being concise, and speaking with purpose. And going forward to networking skills. Networking skills start conversations with a simple introduction. So, giving a background of who you are, what grade you are, what major you are, and what you're interested in the future. So, this can apply for career fairs or anything like that. And then it is also very important to show genuine interest in the other person's work or experiences. And that also goes with the questions that you ask. They should be things that you are genuinely interested in knowing about. being polite and actively listening and attentively listening, sharing your strengths or goals in one clear sentence or just keeping it concise, keeping the interaction balance, so that balance of talking versus listening, so make sure that you're doing both, and closing the conversation with a next step, such as LinkedIn or an email or an event. So just have that next follow-up stage so that you can continue the conversation there and build those networking skills. So just a big part of networking is just being engaged in the conversation, being able to advocate and explain your skills and showing that you are listening to them back and that you want to know about their experience and that you want to learn more about the company. And as for elevator pitches specifically, you can introduce yourself, name, major, year, concentration, hometown. You can talk about your experience or interest in the field, make it conversational, ask a question about their role, team, or company to keep the dialogue going, and also just follow up after the event, like I mentioned. So, LinkedIn, email, you can ask if they have a business card. They often do. And moving on to communication as an intern, a big part of being an intern, because for many positions, they don't expect you to come in knowing everything. So a big part is asking thoughtful questions when you don't understand the material. So show curiosity and a desire to learn. And when you do get answers to those questions, make sure that you're taking notes or listening. Also practice summarizing information. So turning long instructions or meetings into a few clear sentences. Observe how staff communicate. Notice tone, structure, and how they handle questions or feedback, especially if it's a staff that you admire, like if it's a certain manager that you have that you really like their communication skill, you can look at what they do well and then try to execute that similarly. And another big part of being an intern is building genuine relationships through that networking piece. So if you're in the hallway or if you're in the same break room, saying hello, asking how people are doing, and showing interest in their work. And interpersonal skills is what is also referred to as people skills. So it is these qualities of building rapport, listening, caring, being empathetic, asking follow-up questions, being interested, being genuine. And remember that they are people too. It's easy to get nervous when you're speaking to someone that is a recruiter or that has many years of experience, but at the end of the day, they're just people with some more years under their belt. So if that helps to calm the nerves, then that can also help your confidence and how you communicate yourself. So, good ways to practice communication is just speaking to people that you do not know well. And this can also mean just going outside of your comfort zone. But when you do speak to people, you can talk about your name, major, interests, goals, even if it's a peer in your class. And then when someone is talking to you, practice asking follow-up questions and practice active listening. So, this is just something to keep in mind. If you're communicating with someone and you're talking to someone and they're telling you things about themselves, if you ask follow-up questions, it really does make a big difference. And also, another way to practice is to think about just strengths that you have in communication. So, this can be clarity, pacing, confidence, structure. Maybe you know the material well when you speak, so you're confident with it. These are all just things to keep in mind as you approach communication. And as for written communication, this is also a very big part of the professional world. Number one for this is knowing your audience and purpose for writing. So, who and why. Two, use a clear and organized structure. Use correct grammar and a professional tone. Three, use active voice and prioritize simplicity. Remove unnecessary words. So, instead of saying, for example, the door was opened, just say, I opened the door. Things like that, that are small switches, but they make your writing be less verbose and more clear and to the point. You want people to be able to skim your message and know exactly what the point was and why you're sending this, especially in an email. So, some more email guidelines is use a clear subject line that reflects your purpose so that people can easily refer to it, see what it's about. Start with a polite greeting and state your ask early. So, again, you don't want to bury your needs further in the email, you want it to be directly accessible. Also, keep sentence short and organized, so not super long sentences. Additionally, confirm details, deadlines, or next steps, so just being clear in what you are asking for or expecting. and close with a professional sign off and your full name. So here on the right, I have an example based on the Cal Poly catalog. If you Google email guidelines, you can find the exact font sizes and colors. And it is just another way to be very professional. If you're at a company, they might give you an email signature that you just fill in with your intern position and your name. But if you are writing from your personal email, for example, to recruiters to apply for jobs or just to thank them after career fairs, it makes you stand out as well if you have these fancy email signatures. So if you have your main name, your major, your college, an email to find you at, and a phone number to reach you at, and that nice Cal Poly email or image, and then having that professional email signature and a professional email handle. So if you have an email that you made when you were 11 and then it isn't the most professional, maybe create a new email account just to have that more professional communication when you are emailing firms. Additionally, think about what kind of email you would like to receive. So this just helps with the organization and concise part. If you don't want to receive a super long verbose email for something that's quite simple, then that's just a framework to think about for when you're writing your own emails. And here's an email example for after an interview. It is good to send an email, just a thank you email within 24 hours of interviewing. So, hello, blank. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I truly enjoyed learning more about the position name at the company and discussing, and the key here is to discuss something specific that they talked about during your interview. Because again, this shows the active listening piece that you're engaged during your interview and that you remember and know what they talked about and that it stuck with you. So this is oftentimes a key differentiator. Additionally, I believe my experience or traits will allow me to contribute greatly to the team, and I look forward to hearing from you. And then that professional sign off. Best regards, kindly, warm regards, best, sincerely, up to you. And one more thing to keep in mind for emails is that with the rise of AI, it is common to use AI for emails, but I would say to be cautious with that because people often don't like receiving AI generated email. So making sure that it still has your touch and that it still has the specificity that you would like to receive or that you would like to communicate. So just keeping that in mind. And then strategies to develop communication at Cal Poly. Practice common interview questions using Big Interview. You can use your Cal Poly EDU email to log in to that for free. And then also Big Resume, you can use your Cal Poly email to log into that for free, and that will scan your resume. Take Comms 101 public speaking as a GE course, especially if it's required. Attend a personal statement writing workshop through career services. Collaborate with others during part-time jobs, class projects, or internships. And join a student club or organization, for example, polyreps. Seek feedback from faculty, peers, or mentors on your communication style. And ways to demonstrate effective communication skills. Deliver a clear and confident elevator pitch at career fairs and networking events, and you can practice that on your own as well. Submit a professional, error-free resume that highlights your accomplishments. Do academic or club-related presentations and respond to behavioral interview questions using the STAR method. So, situation, task, action, and result. Practicing that framework is really important for internship or an interview preparation because it allows you to communicate your skills effectively. Also, practice writing professional and thoughtful emails, such as thank you emails after interviews. And again, the more practice that you get with this professional email, the better it is for your actual job because you will very likely be writing many emails and communicating with people a lot. That is all for today, but thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned about communication.